You know that weird, quiet feeling on your phone after you finally say to yourself, I'm not texting first anymore? The chat is still there, their name is still there, all the old messages are still there. But for the first time in a long time, it's not you breaking the silence. No hey, no how was your day, no random meme just to keep the conversation alive. Just nothing. And suddenly that nothing feels so loud. You open the app, stare at their name, close it, put your phone down, then 5 minutes later, you're back doing the exact same thing. And in the middle of all that, there's this one question you can't shake. What's going on in their head right now that I can't see? Let me be real with you. You're not crazy for wondering that. You're not too emotional. You cared. You tried. You reached out even when you were tired, even when you didn't get the same energy back. So, of course, when you stop texting first, your mind goes into overdrive. You think, are they noticing? Are they happy I stopped? Are they checking their phones like I am? Or did they just move on like it was nothing? That uncertainty is heavy. It sits on your chest when you're trying to sleep. It follows you when you're scrolling through social media. And it hurts because you're used to fixing things with effort. This time, your effort is to do nothing, and that feels completely against who you are. So let's talk about what actually happens in their mind when you stop texting first, and what starts happening in yours. Not in some perfect movie way, but in the messy, human, real way it actually goes down. Because there are patterns, and once you see them clearly, you stop taking their silence as proof that you're not enough. You start seeing it as proof of who they really are and what they were willing or not willing to give. First, let's step into their world for a second. In the beginning, honestly, there might be no big dramatic reaction. They go to work, they scroll, they talk to other people, they do their usual routine. On the outside, it looks like nothing has changed. And that right there, that's the part that stings for you. Because on your side, everything feels different. Your fingers are itching to type. Your brain keeps writing imaginary messages. You're hyper-aware of the silence, and they look fine. But inside their mind, even if it's quiet, something small starts to shift. They are used to you showing up. Maybe you always say good morning. Maybe you're the one who reacts to their stories. Maybe you're the one checking on them when they disappear for a bit. That becomes normal. They stop even thinking about it. It's like background music in a cafe. You don't notice it until it stops. When you stop texting first, that background sound of your attention cuts off. At first, they might just feel a tiny sense that something is off, but not know exactly what it is. Their mind will often run a little script it's comfortable with. Something like, they're probably busy. They'll text later. They always do. And that line, they always do, that's where you see the truth. They have gotten used to you being the one who keeps this connection alive. They may not have said it out loud, but there's a belief sitting under everything. I don't really have to try. They won't go anywhere. When you stop texting first, you don't just create silence. You challenge that belief. Gently, quietly, but very clearly. On your side, while this is happening, your feelings are loud. You check your phone more than you want to admit. You start to overthink. Did I do something wrong? Are they mad? Do they think I don't care anymore? You might even feel guilty for pulling back, even though you were the one who kept giving. You type messages and delete them. You reread old chats and wonder where the energy started to fade. You question yourself because you've been trained by this situation to think that if you're not doing the most, everything will fall apart. It's okay to feel like this. It just means you're human, and you've been carrying this alone for a while. Back in their head, time starts to pass. A few hours, a day, 2 days. The first little, that's weird, moment appears. Maybe they open your chat to see if they miss something. Maybe they notice they haven't seen your name at the top of their notifications. Their ego might jump in to protect them. Thoughts like, oh, so now they're being distant? Or, they're probably trying to make a point. It's almost funny because you were pouring effort in for so long and they barely noticed. But the second you stop, suddenly it's, oh, they're acting different. That mix of confusion and ego is usually the first sign your silence is being felt. They may try to brush it off. Whatever, I'm not going to chase them. I'm not doing that. They tell themselves, you're just in a mood. But that thought already shows something. They expected you to be there. They counted on you to be the steady one. And even if they act like they don't care, your absence is not invisible. It's just easier for them to pretend it doesn't matter than to admit they've been relying on your attention more than they wanted to admit. Now, I want to talk about something a lot of people don't say out loud. When you always text first, you become their comfort, their backup. They might not give you a full relationship or full effort, but they like knowing you're around. Your messages are like a soft pillow for their ego. Your good mornings, your check-ins, your how did it go? That all makes them feel wanted and important, even if they never give you the same energy back. When you stop, that quiet comfort disappears. At first, they might feel free. No pressure, no one asking what I'm doing. But after a while, that freedom can start to feel a bit like emptiness. Now let's come back to you for a second, because what's happening in your mind right now is just as important. The first days, sometimes weeks, of not texting first feel like withdrawal. You go from always trying to reconnect to just sitting with yourself. You might feel restless, sad, angry, and weirdly empty all at once. You might fight with yourself in your head. I should stay strong, but what if they forget me? What if this is my fault? It's very tempting to break your own boundary just to stop those feelings. But every time you hold yourself back and put the phone down, you are teaching your mind something new. I don't have to fix everything by reaching out. And slowly, even if you don't feel it yet, that is you taking your power back. You're no longer giving them constant access to your energy. You're no longer letting your mood depend on whether they replied or left you on read. You're creating space, not just between you and them, but between you and your own triggers. That's uncomfortable, but it's also where you start to heal. Back to them. After some time with no messages from you, the comparison game starts in their mind. People always compare, even if they don't admit it. They start to notice how different it feels without your words there. Maybe they're talking to someone new. At first, that new attention feels exciting, different, shiny. But new doesn't automatically mean deep. They realize this new person doesn't know their stories the way you did, doesn't comfort them the same, doesn't check in as consistently. They remember how your messages felt, maybe a bit too much to them at the time, but now, when they aren't there, they feel a bit rare. They might not suddenly think, I made the biggest mistake of my life, straight away, but they start to feel a small, nagging sense that something real went missing, that they traded someone who actually cared for something lighter, something easier, but not necessarily better. They remember the way you used to ask if they got home safe, or the way you noticed when their mood changed, or the way you remembered something little they said weeks ago. Your silence showcases that, because no one is there doing it now. On the outside, they might still act normal. They might still post, still laugh, still look fine. They might even put extra effort into looking happy, because ego hates feeling like it lost something valuable. But in quiet moments, late at night, early in the morning, after a bad day, your name will pop into their mind. Not because you chased, but because now they're the one who's left alone with the space you used to fill. Let's pause and look at what your silence reveals about them. When you stop texting first and they never check in, never ask, never reach out, that tells you something simple and painful. Without your effort, they choose distance. It doesn't mean you weren't valuable. It means they weren't willing or ready to show up. For a long time, you probably covered that truth with excuses. They're busy. They're just not good at texting. They're shy. They're going through a lot. And sure, sometimes life really is heavy for them. But people still make time for what genuinely matters to them, even in small ways. Silence from your side uncovers where you really stand. Your silence also reflects something important about you. It says, I am done chasing someone who barely walks toward me. It says, if you want access to me, you have to meet me halfway. It might not feel that powerful when you're sitting alone, trying not to cry. But it is powerful. You are breaking your own pattern of overgiving. You are finally allowing the connection to be tested. If it breaks, it is never stable. If it holds, it will be because they also started to invest, not just you. Now, there are times when, after a bit of silence, they do reach out. What's going on in their mind then? Usually a mix of curiosity, missing the feeling of being wanted, and a little fear that they might actually lose you. They might send a light message. Hey, stranger, you disappeared. Are you alive? They probably won't send a long confession right away. Why? Because admitting they cared more than they showed is scary. It means facing the fact that they took you for granted. So they test the waters. They want to see if you're still available, still ready to give the same devotion without them having to do much work. And this is where your growth really matters. Because when that message comes, you won't be exactly the same person who was panicking in the beginning. You'll have sat with your own feelings for a while. You'll have seen who checked on you and who didn't. You'll have lived a few days or weeks without chasing love. And that changes how you answer. Maybe you respond, but slower, calmer, less desperate. Maybe you set boundaries. Maybe you don't respond at all because you already got your answer from their silence earlier. The point is, you have more choice now. You're not just reacting from fear of losing them. You're deciding from a place of wanting to protect your own heart. I want you to picture something with me. Imagine it's a little bit in the future. Not years, just far enough that the sting you feel right now is softer. You're out living your life. Maybe you're with friends, maybe you're at work, maybe you're just sitting in your room watching something or working on something that actually matters to you. Your mind isn't constantly checking for their messages anymore. You've had days where you didn't cry. You've had moments where you actually laughed and forgot about them for a while. You're not fully healed yet, but you're not broken like before. Then your phone lights up. You see their name. For a second, your heart jumps, because you're human. But it doesn't own you like it used to. You open the message. It's short, maybe casual. Hey, how are you? Or, been a while. Or, I saw something that reminded me of you. What's happening in their mind at that moment? It's a mix of nostalgia and regret. They remembered the way you used to be there. They felt the gap your silence created. They're wondering if the door is still open. And at the same time, you're standing in a new place inside yourself, where your first thought isn't, finally, but, what do I want now? Or maybe that message never comes. Maybe instead they just watch your stories, like your posts from time to time, or ask about you through other people. That's another kind of mind game. They want to feel close enough to taste your presence again, but not close enough to take responsibility. In their mind, that's safe. In your mind, that can be confusing if you're still attached. But once you see it for what it is, you can decide if that's enough for you. One thing is for sure. Your silence made them aware that your attention is not guaranteed. They had to notice. They had to adjust their story about you from, "they always text me," to, "they actually can walk away." Here's what I really want you to hear. The main story is not what's happening in their mind. It's what's happening in yours. What they think, what they feel, how fast they regret, whether they regret at all. You can't control any of that. You can guess forever and still never know the full truth. But you can know what happens when you stop chasing. You can feel the difference when you put that energy back into yourself. You can see the truth of their effort, or lack of it, when you step out of the way. So yes, when you stop texting first, a lot happens in their mind that you can't see. At first, they might feel nothing big. Then they feel the pattern shift. Then the ego itch. Why aren't they texting? Then the confusion. Did I push them away? Then maybe the comparisons, the flashbacks, the quiet late-night thoughts where your name comes back into the room. For some people, that grows into real regret. For others, it doesn't. Not because you weren't worth it, but because some people are not ready to face themselves. What matters is what it does inside you. It slowly teaches you that your value was never in the speed of their reply. Your value isn't measured by how many times you had to double text. Your worth isn't based on whether someone decides to finally see your effort after you're gone. You are not hard to love. You were just asking to be loved by someone who didn't want to grow at the same pace as you. The moment you stop fighting for their attention is the moment they're left alone with their own choices. And maybe for the first time, you are not standing there making those choices easier for them. So if you're sitting there right now, phone in your hand, feeling that pull to break your silence just to ease your anxiety, take a slow breath. Ask yourself, if I text now, am I doing it from love for them or from fear of losing them? Because love doesn't always mean chasing. Sometimes love, real love for yourself, means staying quiet and letting the truth of the situation reveal itself. Whether they come back, whether they stay gone, whether they feel regret in 3 days, 3 months, or never at all, you deserve peace that doesn't depend on their messages. If this touched something in you, stay close. I want to keep talking to you like this, honestly, softly, and clearly, until you don't just understand your worth in your head, you actually start to feel it in your daily life. We're going to rebuild your heart, your standards, and your sense of self step by step, so that one day, whether they text you first or never again, you're okay either way.